darling, you have just begun! By Dancing Lassie. Chapter 5. Geralt's eyes skim in alarm up and down Ciri's trembling form. She's red-eyed and teary, but she doesn't seem to be in any pain.
Poison, he questions worriedly. What poison?
Those fucking salads you've been shoving down her throat! I can't believe I just let it go! I can't believe I didn't question why she was eating extra greens! I stupidly thought you were just watching out for her, that you were trying to keep her healthy before winter really sets in! Salad? This entire dramatic conversation is about salad!
He brings his hand to his head to try and massage the growing tension forming between his eyebrows. At least his brothers have backed down, standing awkwardly on the sidelines as they unashamedly watch the spectacle Jaskier is putting on.
It's not poison, Jaskier.
He tries to pull Jaskier to the side to give them the illusion of privacy. Jaskier slaps his hand away, refusing to be appeased.
You drugged her! He screams, without telling me what you were doing! You betrayed my trust and fed her stupid, secret, witcher-enhancing herbs without my permission!
They're not hurting her, Jaskier.
Geralt snaps back, fed up with the accusations being hurled at him.
We all ate them as boys when we were training. They help her.
Help!
Jaskier's voice reaches a pitch Geralt didn't know was possible for the human voice.
You got mood swings, bouts of sudden aggression, and extreme irritability! Helping!
You're overreacting.
Geralt doesn't think Ciri's been that bad. It is
absolutely the worst thing he could have said!
The water may have been steaming at Jaskier's feet, but when it hits Geralt in the face, it's ice cold and aimed right at his eyes. Geralt yells out in shock and half-blinded, claws at Jaskier, who darts quickly back with Ciri still securely behind him. The bard's mouth is opening, no doubt to continue his diatribe, and that's when Ina makes her presence known. Enough, she declares, drawing the attention of everyone in the yard to herself. If we can both act like adults for a moment, then perhaps we can get to the bottom of this. No one moves or makes a sound. Geralt's not sure if it's Ina's godliness or just an effect of her forceful personality, but no one dares interrupt her when she uses that tone of voice. The main issue here is that you've been feeding Ciri certain mushrooms and herbs that, as far as I can tell, are meant to boost her metabolism and help her build muscle.
Which is hardly poison.
Geralt can't help but point out. Both river gods glare at him. As I was saying, Ina stresses, the issue here is that these were previously fed to young boys who, around puberty, underwent the rather, her mouth twists in revulsion, extreme mutations for which you witchers are famous. I believe it was these mutations that helped you overcome the detrimental effects of these substances. An ice-cold feeling is settling in Geralt's stomach, and it has nothing to do with the water still dripping down his face. What detrimental effects? I applaud you for wanting to feed Ciri a diet appropriate for the physical training she is undertaking. But you've been feeding a young girl a diet previously only fed to young boys, many of whom would die in upcoming trials. It's clear to me you've never understood the full range of side effects these drugs can have on the human body, specifically in this case, the developing female body. These include, when fed to a girl about to undergo puberty, mood swings at a worrying level of aggression. If you continue to feed these to Ciri, the aggression and irritability are going to get worse, and you're in serious danger of stunting her growth. A wyvern could have landed in the middle of the courtyard, set the roof on fire, and flown off, and Geralt doubts anyone would have noticed. What had they almost done? All the witchers look slightly shaken and are straining to catch a glimpse of the young girl they might have injured with their ignorance. Vesemir in particular looks harrowed, the memory of every young boy he mentored who didn't make it out of the trials alive haunting him in this moment. Jaskier shows them no mercy or sympathy. He is still trembling with rage and keeping Ciri well out of their line of sight. Now, Ina continues briskly, I can make some suggestions about a safe and appropriate diet for Ciri while she's training. That's if, her beady gaze lands on each witcher in turn, this is something in which you gentlemen might be interested. Of course. Vesemir sounds slightly hoarse. That would be marvelous. Shall we step inside? The others make to head back inside, but Jaskier stays put.
Jaskier, Geralt reaches out towards his lover. He could feel the tumultuous whirlwind of Yaskar's emotions, a never-ending cycle of grief, helplessness, desperation, and anger. Let's go inside. We can work this out. We!
Yaskar's furious glare pins him in place, hand frozen, reaching outwards.
We decide nothing. You decided without me. You went behind my back when you had no right to. She's my daughter, not yours. You were the one who wanted nothing to do with her for 12 years!
Geralt would have preferred it if Yaskar had physically struck him. He reels back speechless and undeniably hurt. But it's true. He had wanted nothing to do with Ciri before now. He had actively tried to run from her to forget her. He had sought out a bloody gin in the hope of breaking the bond he'd accidentally formed with her, and how ironic that all he managed to achieve were 2 more bonds. But that had been a mistake, and he was trying to make up for that now. Yaskar knew that. He'd encouraged it. He can't cry. The mutations he underwent made that impossible. But there's a hot, tight lump lodged in the back of his throat that's as close as he can get. Ciri is looking up at him with her large green eyes, distraught. They've never talked about where he was for most of her life. He'd steeled himself for one day sitting her down and admitting his cowardice to her, but he'd never imagined that she'd find out like this, that Yaskar would be the one to call him out so callously in front of her. All the others have stopped almost at the side door that leads into the main hall, turning to look at him. He can't stay here. He can't face them. He can't face Ciri. He turns on his heel and practically sprints in the opposite direction. Ciri manages to wriggle out of Yaskar's hold the moment they get indoors and bolts off without so much as a backward glance. He ignores Ina's calls to leave her be and follows her. He's sick and tired of everyone's recent attitude towards him and has felt very hurt by Ciri's behavior in particular. Discovering that it's partly the result of a secret witcher diet has cooled some of his ire toward her, but she'd still stomped and screamed at him when he dragged her back to Kaer Morhen earlier. Ciri! He calls as he strides after her. She may have been getting faster and faster after all her training, but his legs are still much longer than hers, and he has no trouble catching up to her.
Leave me alone!
No, we need to talk.
I don't want to talk! Everything was fine! You ruined it!
Oh, I'm sorry!
He couches the door to her bedroom as she attempts to slam it in his face. Was I just imagining it when Ina warned us of stunted growth, potential tumors, likely heart problems, and fertility issues?
But it was doing what I needed it to do. It was making me stronger. It was helping me fight.
You won't be fighting when you have a heart attack.
That doesn't matter!
She screams at him.
Yes, it does!
And he's screaming back at her.
And if you can't understand that, there'll be no more sword fighting lessons!
She stops with her mouth wide open in obvious horror.
You can't!
She exclaims, completely aghast.
I can!
He threatens. You think after this the witches will teach you without my express permission?
If I say no, then that's it!
That's not fair!
I don't have to be fair! I'm your father!
No, you're not!
His breath catches in his throat, and they both stare wide-eyed at each other in dismay, unable to pull back the words hanging in the air between them. Ciri lets out a sniffle, and Yaskar echoes it, and then they're both crying. Great big ugly sobs erupt from them both, and suddenly they're clutching at each other, tears streaming down their cheeks.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
Ciri repeats over and over, muffled in her chest.
I didn't mean it!
He fixes an arm around the top of her head, anchoring her to him, refusing to let go. I can't, Ciri, he moans. I can't let you do this. If you're going to deliberately try and get hurt, I need you to stay safe. Please, please let me keep you safe. They're on the ground now, curled together against the wall, covered unashamedly in snot and tears.
But I'm not safe,
Ciri wails.
I can never be safe, not while Nilfgaard has Cintra. I need to get it back. I need to fight for it. Grandmother would have fought for it. I need to be a warrior like her.
Yaskar shakes at the thought, gathering her up more tightly in his arms. He imagines her at the head of an army, sword drawn and charging into battle, and he instantly feels sick. He doesn't want that for her. He wants her safe. That's all he wants. He would give anything for it.
I need to kill that man,
Ciri howls.
I need to kill him! For wanting to Cintra to me! For making me afraid!
Ice is seizing his limbs and panic is gripping his thoughts. Who? he demands. Him! The man in black armor, the black knight with the wings on his helmet! He was hurting me! I want him dead! I need him dead! Yasker swears to himself that he'll grant her wish. He'll hunt this man down for her and slaughter him where he stands. Wherever this knight is, Yasker will find him. Don't take the sword away! She begs. Don't take it away from me! He has to take a moment to breathe. A huge gasping lungful of air, trying to gather himself back together, to get himself under control. All right, he agrees hoarsely. All right, but we do it properly, without secret witch herbs. We follow Ina's advice and do it safely. And if you're serious about retaking Cintra one day, then every third day you put down the sword and come and take lessons with me. She pulls her face away from his chest, ready to object, but he cuts her off. You think just knowing how to fight is going to win you back, Cintra? It's how grandmother kept her throne. No, Jasker refutes. It's just one of several reasons Calanthe was able to keep a hold of her position. She was known as a fighter, but the reason she was such a formidable opponent was because she knew how to direct armies. She had the best battle tactics because she understood strategy. The witches can show you how to analyze a single opponent, maybe even a small group, but they don't get involved in warfare. They can't show you how to analyze a battlefield full of thousands of men. And you can? Ciri asks doubtfully. No, Yasker admits, but your Uncle Trava can. What I can teach you is politics. Don't make that face. He flicks Ciri's nose as she shoots him a revolted look. You're going to need to know how to make allies. But none of the northern kingdoms like the Nilfgaardians, Ciri complains. None of the major kings do. Yasker corrects. They're worried about Nilfgaard trying to push into their kingdoms again. But the merchants are rather fond of Nilfgaard. They derive a lot of profit from it, and the kings can't risk upsetting too many of the merchants. The merchants will either up their prices or take their goods elsewhere, and then it's the common man that suffers. That's how revolutions begin. Besides, let's say a giant flood washes all Nilfgaardians away tomorrow and you're set up as queen. What are you going to do then? Wave a sword at every minister or diplomat who approaches you? Grandmother threw a dagger at a Carrick diplomat once, Ciri informs him seriously. Yes, well, Carrick is a relatively minor, relatively new country without an awful lot of influence. Yet, if the diplomat had been from Redania, it could have turned out very badly for your grandmother. She picked the fights carefully. Ciri still doesn't look enthused about these lessons. She scrubs at her face, still streaked in dried tears and other less pleasant substances. I need a bath. She rises slowly to her feet and holds out a hand for him. He accepts, and she makes a show of hauling him upright. They leave the room together, but she pauses as she reaches the corridor that'll take her to the baths. She looks slightly scared and unsure of herself, but darts forward to give him one last hug. I love you, Papa, she mumbles quietly. I love you too, he breathes, the tension in his shoulders easing as she darts off, leaving him alone in the hallway. He doesn't want to join the others in the main hall. Doesn't think he's ready to face them yet. He's still so furious with all of them. They had made decisions about Ciri without him, excluded him completely and gone over his head, and in doing so almost caused her serious harm. The others may not like him or even trust him, but Geralt should have known better. He wanders back outside and onto the northern walls, staring blankly at the forest and snow-covered mountains stretching forever onwards in the distance. This is where Ina eventually finds him, and she settles next to him and slips an arm into his own. You did the right thing, getting me up here, she informs him, and he laughs brokenly, because Ina hardly ever acknowledges when he's done the right thing. Breathe, Ina instructs. You spotted the warning signs. No permanent damage has been done, and I have instructed that Vesemir fellow on the proper care required of a young girl. The other witchers have been suitably cowed, and I've told that rude one that if he swears in front of me again, I'll be washing his mouth out with soap. I'd pay to see that, Yasker admits, and lets Ina turn him round to face her so she can wrap him in a strong hug. He tries to tamp down a sob. He's cried enough today. But now that he's started again, he just can't stop. She reaches up to run a steady hand across his head, and he basks in the much-missed familial comfort. When he's calmer, she pulls back, eyeing him critically. I'd wash your face before you go back in. Also, she hesitates slightly, I wouldn't let your witcher suffer for too long. He messed up, but he didn't deliberately set out to hurt anyone, and Mama knows just how much that idiot loves you. How much? Yasker sniffs, fishing shamelessly for reassurance. Ina whacks him lightly on the arm.
Get him to tell you about our first conversation, she tells him, and you ask her, do keep in touch. We all worry about you.